Welcome back, chosen one. You didn't land here by accident. There's a whisper in your spirit, a stirring that won't let you sleep. You're not just waking up, you're being called up. Today's message isn't for the crowd, it's for the few, the marked, the ones who've sensed there's something different about their life, but couldn't quite name it. This video is your confirmation. If you've felt burdened by the weight of your becoming, stay with me. And if you find truth in these words, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share it forward. Now, let's begin the unveiling. You've heard the word tossed like a crown. Chosen. It sounds noble, beautiful, but no one tells you how heavy it is. To be chosen isn't about platform, it's not about applause, it's about posture, obedience, weight. You don't blend in anymore because you were never built to. You were formed in fire to carry something that would cost too much for those who still crave comfort. And while others celebrate the spotlight, you're out here learning how to carry the torch without burning out. This is the weight of being set apart. It's the midnight discipline of praying when no one sees, loving when no one claps, obeying when there's no reward. It's the ache of isolation that doesn't come from rejection, but from reassignment. When God chooses you, He separates you. He removes what distracts. He silences the noise. He trims relationships, alters paths, not to hurt you, but to harden your spirit in holiness. People will misread your distance. They'll call your silence arrogance. They won't understand your sacred no's. But that's not their burden to carry. It's yours, because the chosen don't get to stay small. They don't get to linger in indecision. They don't get to serve two masters. They are called to climb. And climbing is lonely. It's narrow. It strips you of baggage, pride, people. The air gets thinner the higher you rise, but so does the clarity. God doesn't place mantles on the comfortable. He places them on the crushed, the refined, the willing. And if you've been through seasons where everything familiar fell apart, it wasn't punishment. It was preparation. He's building a foundation that can hold both the calling and the character, because heaven doesn't care about how loud you are. It cares about how pure your yes is. To be chosen is to be entrusted with spiritual weight that would break someone without discipline. That's why your timeline has been different. That's why shortcuts don't work for you. That's why delay doesn't mean denial. It means deep formation. He's rooting out the performance. He's crushing the addiction to approval. He's making you whole so the glory can rest, not visit. And make no mistake, being chosen doesn't always feel like winning. Sometimes it feels like watching others run while you remain still. It feels like being overlooked while others rise. It feels like loving deeply and losing often. But the chosen are not built for speed. They're built for depth. Heaven's assignments require more than charm. They require consistency, humility, endurance, and faith that keeps walking even when the oil runs low. You're not crazy for craving solitude. You're not wrong for needing distance. You're not overreacting for sensing spiritual warfare in friendly faces. You're just not of this world. You've been set apart, marked, hidden for a time, not buried, planted. And now you're beginning to break through the soil. So when the weight feels unbearable, pause and remember this. You're not carrying a curse. You're carrying consecration. And what's coming next will require every ounce of discipline you've built in secret. Let this word affirm you. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're not disqualified, you're becoming. And becoming hurts, but it also heals. So, chosen one, take the weight seriously. Wear it with humility. Walk it with faith. And never forget, you weren't called to be comfortable. You were called to be consecrated, and heaven will never apologize for setting you apart to do what only you were created to carry. Discipline. It's not the word you want to hear, but it's the doorway to the life you're praying for. And if you've been called, if the mantle rests on your shoulders, then spiritual discipline isn't optional. It's oxygen. You don't get to live casually when your calling is holy. You don't get to drift through days and expect divine impact. You've been chosen, and chosen vessels are trained differently. Divine alignment is not a one-time decision. It's a daily submission, a quiet yes in the hidden hours, a sacred structure to the chaos of modern life. Not because you're religious, but because you're responsible. The world may run on emotion, distraction, instant gratification, but the chosen, they move by instruction. That means waking up and asking God first. That means fasting when others are feasting. That means letting go of things that once made you feel powerful, so you can step into the power that's actually pure. Alignment is uncomfortable because it exposes what's crooked. It reveals what doesn't belong. It cuts off what you've outgrown. But in that pruning, you are being perfected. There's no accidental anointing. It comes at a cost. And discipline is the currency. When God starts to align your life, He will remove the idols, the toxic rhythms, the people who fed your ego but starved your soul. You'll look around and realize the very things that once made you feel alive now feel like noise. Why? Because your spirit has grown, and what once satisfied the immature version of you can no longer feed who you're becoming. That's the tension of discipline. You want to rest, but God is calling you to rise. You want to stay in the familiar, but He's shifting you into the uncomfortable, because comfort kills callings, and alignment requires you to move even when you don't feel like it. Do you feel that resistance lately? That push to stop scrolling, to stop talking, to stop explaining yourself to people who will never see? That's not burnout. That's God rearranging your focus. Because alignment always begins in your mind. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Your thoughts must be renewed. Your habits must be recalibrated. Your time must be guarded like the gate it is. If you're wasting time, you're wasting oil, and the enemy knows it. He doesn't have to steal your purpose if he can simply distract you long enough to make you miss it. But not this time. This time, you're anchoring in. You're choosing the schedule that sustains your soul. You're choosing to say no so that your yes means something again. You're choosing to read the Word, not to perform, but to be transformed. You're building habits that heaven can trust. And hear this clearly. Alignment is not about perfection. It's about posture, the willingness to be redirected, the humility to be corrected, the obedience to keep showing up when no one claps. Chosen one, your life must reflect the oil you carry, and oil doesn't rest on chaos, it rests on order. God is not the author of confusion, so if your spirit feels cluttered, your first task is to declutter. Silence the noise, close the tabs, and make room for divine instruction. There's a version of you that wakes up early, not from anxiety, but anticipation. A version of you that prays not out of desperation, but discipline. A version of you that says, I'll miss that party, I'll pass on that call. I'll unplug for a while. Not because you're being legalistic, but because you're being led. Alignment requires a holy obsession with becoming who you were born to be, not what culture expects, not what your trauma trained you to be, not what your past tried to limit you to, but the real you, the you that heaven sees, the you that's hidden beneath layers of performance, fear, and fatigue. And every time you choose discipline over distraction, you're not just surviving, you're unlocking that version. So don't be discouraged when the pruning hurts. Don't grow weary when the growth is slow. That's how heaven builds legacies. One obedient step at a time. You may not feel like a warrior, but every small, holy choice, every quiet yes, every secret sacrifice is forming a rhythm of alignment that hell can't interrupt and heaven can't ignore. Stay faithful, stay focused, stay in position, because what God is building in you will require the kind of discipline that outlasts pressure, that defies delay, and that brings fireproof fruit. You are not behind. You are being forged, not into perfection, but into alignment. And from that posture, everything else will begin to flow. Influence isn't given for vanity. It's entrusted for responsibility. And if you're a chosen one, your life carries a ripple effect that reaches farther than you know. Your words, your presence, your decisions, they shape atmospheres. But hear this clearly. The calling to influence is not about platform. It's about posture. Not about followers, but about faithfulness. Not about being seen, but about being clean before God. Integrity is the quiet companion of the called. It walks with you when no one claps. It convicts you when no one's watching. It whispers, "Don't take that shortcut," when no one would have known but you and God. And that whisper matters more than any public praise, because true influence isn't built on charisma, it's built on character. Think of Joseph, thrown into prison for righteousness' sake. He didn't curse God. He didn't manipulate his way out. He stayed faithful in the shadows. And when Pharaoh's court opened, it wasn't just Joseph's gift that brought him up. It was his integrity that kept him there. You're not just being prepared for promotion. You're being tested for trust. Can heaven trust you with more eyes on you when you were careless with the few? Can heaven trust you with resources when you struggled to steward lack without bitterness? Can you hold power without pride? Can you speak truth without ego? This is the call to influence with integrity. And chosen one, there will be opportunities to compromise. They will look like blessing, but smell like manipulation. They will offer you fast fame, easy gain, a chance to be celebrated without being sanctified. Don't take the bait, because the doors you force open have to be maintained by your flesh. But the doors that God opens carry the weight of His glory, and His peace keeps them open. You are called to rise, but not at the cost of your soul. You are called to speak, but not to perform. You are called to lead, but from a place of surrender, not spectacle. So, what does integrity look like in your everyday? It's the apology you offer first. It's the budget you stick to even when no one's checking. It's the DM you ignore because your heart is vulnerable tonight. It's the decision to create even when the numbers don't clap. It's praying when you don't feel like it, serving when no one sees, giving without expecting anything in return. Integrity is costly, but it is never wasted. And every quiet moment of obedience is recorded in a realm far more powerful than the internet. It's recorded in eternity. You may not go viral, but you will go deeper. You may not trend, but you will transform. Because when heaven trusts your integrity, it releases a kind of influence that no algorithm can replicate and no demon can shut down. Your words will carry weight because your life carries substance. Your eyes will burn with clarity because your motives are pure. And your voice will break chains because you've lived the freedom you preach. Remember this: authority doesn't come from opinions. It comes from obedience. Power doesn't come from applause. It comes from purity. If God is calling you to influence, He's first calling you to inner alignment, because the greatest leaders in the kingdom are not those who talk loud, but those who've walked long through fire, silence, temptation, and pruning, and came out not famous, but faithful. Your story matters, your scars matter, your stillness matters. And when you lead from that place, the place of truth, the place of praise, the place of unshakable integrity, your influence will outlast seasons, your impact will outlive applause, and your name will be written not just in algorithms, but in the annals of heaven's great cloud of witnesses. So carry your calling like a sacred scroll. Walk humbly, speak wisely, live deeply, because you weren't called to be impressive. You were called to be anointed. And the anointing doesn't come from striving. It flows from staying surrendered, steady, and real. This is your invitation. Influence not to be seen, but to set people free. Let your integrity make the way, and let heaven do the rest. Loneliness isn't always a punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. And if you've been walking a path that feels misunderstood, mislabeled, and misjudged, you might just be carrying something sacred. See, chosen ones often walk alone, not because they're unlovable, but because their path is uncommon. People will call you intense when you're just deeply awake. They'll say you're too quiet when you're actually listening to something deeper. They'll call you dramatic for sensing what they can't yet feel. It's not your burden to explain. It's your duty to obey. The call of purpose will often cost you community, at least for a season, because what you carry is weighty, and not everyone is equipped to hold space for it. Even Jesus withdrew from the crowds. Even the prophets sat alone in caves. Even Paul wrote letters from prison. And still, they were never truly alone, because the presence of God filled the silence. Chosen one. Don't mistake divine separation for rejection. What feels like abandonment might just be alignment, a pruning of voices so you can hear His whisper again. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it gets heavy. Yes, it's lonely at times. But solitude is the forge where your spirit is refined, because when no one claps, you learn to move for heaven's nod. When no one sees, you learn to be faithful in the secret place. When no one understands, you grow deeper roots. You'll cry tears that no one dries. You'll ask questions no one can answer. You'll stand in rooms full of people and feel like a foreigner. But all of it is creating a resilience within you that no crowd could ever give you. It's easy to follow God when you have a cheering section. But when the applause fades and all that's left is silence and shadows, that's when you learn what faith really is. Faith isn't loud, it's loyal. It's choosing to keep showing up even when your phone is silent, your inbox is dry, your spirit is weary. It's opening your Bible when your heart is breaking. It's praying for others when you need a miracle yourself. It's staying kind when bitterness would feel easier. and you will be tempted to shrink, to soften your truth to stay included, to wear masks so people stay comfortable. But chosen one, your calling isn't about comfort, it's about consecration. So let the distance come, let the misunderstandings pass, let the loneliness teach you how to dwell with God again, because from that place a new version of you will rise, stronger, sharper, Spirit-led, and that version will no longer need validation to feel whole. That version will no longer beg for seats at tables where your spirit never belonged. That version will no longer fear solitude, because now you know the secret place is where true power is born. There will come a time, soon, when the very ones who misunderstood your silence will seek your voice, when the rooms you once walked away from will ask for your wisdom. And when that moment arrives, you won't be bitter, you'll be better, because you didn't just endure the silence, you were shaped by it, you were strengthened in it. So if you're walking alone right now, walk with honor, walk with awareness, walk knowing that even Jesus said, "The world will hate you because of me." But he also said, "I am with you always, even to the end of the age." You are not alone, you're just walking ahead. And in time, those who are meant to walk with you will catch up. But don't wait for them to begin. Keep walking, keep praying, keep carrying the oil. You are not just walking for yourself, you are blazing a trail for others who will one day need the light you carry. Let the solitude shape you. Let the silence sharpen you. Let the isolation become intimacy with God. Because when the time comes and your name is called, you won't be looking for a crowd to approve. You'll already be standing with heaven's endorsement. There is a reward reserved for those who stay when it's easier to run, for those who sow in silence, who keep praying when it feels like no one's listening, who keep giving when nothing seems to be coming back. This is not the kind of reward the world recognizes. It's not trophies, titles, or trending recognition. It's deeper than that. It's legacy. It's alignment. It's peace that money can't buy and status can't sustain. Radical faithfulness looks like waking up one more morning with hope still intact, even when your breakthrough hasn't arrived. It's trusting that every no is not rejection, it's redirection. And God sees that. He sees the decisions no one clapped for. He saw you say no to compromise when no one else was watching. He saw you forgive people who never said sorry. He saw you serve in places where no one applauded. Heaven records what earth forgets. And the reward of faithfulness isn't just in what God gives you. It's in what He builds in you. You're not just gaining blessings, you're gaining spiritual authority. You're becoming someone hell fears and heaven trusts. There's a verse in Galatians 6:9 that says, "Let us not grow weary in well-doing, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." And that proper time? It's not random. It's divine. It's orchestrated by the God who knows exactly what you've been carrying. Your harvest won't be rushed, but it also won't be denied. There's a reason some doors haven't opened yet. It's not because you're not worthy. It's because God was still preparing the room. Because the promise wasn't just about the moment. It was about your maturity. He's not just giving you a blessing. He's entrusting you with influence. And that influence requires deep roots. It requires the kind of soul that doesn't get swayed by applause or destroyed by criticism. You've been trained in the unseen so you could stand in the light without losing your oil. And when it comes, the fulfillment, the open door, the divine connection, you'll know it was God, because you didn't manipulate your way there. You didn't force it. You didn't compromise. You waited. You stayed. You honored the process, and heaven honors that kind of obedience because it's rare, it's holy, and it changes everything. So breathe, chosen one. Let this be your reminder. You are not behind. You are being built, not for applause, but for impact, not for ease, but for eternity. The responsibilities of your calling are heavy, but you are not carrying them alone. God equips who He appoints, and He rewards those who remain faithful even when no one is watching. Keep showing up, keep listening, keep believing, because radical faithfulness always brings radical fulfillment. Your obedience is building your legacy. Heaven is watching, and the reward is already written in your name.